The summer sun blazed over Newport Harbor on that Saturday afternoon in July of 2022, casting golden light across the rows of pristine white yachts docked at Prestige Maritime Marina. The air smelled of salt water and money. Lots of money. This was where California's elite kept their toys, vessels worth millions of dollars lined up like soldiers awaiting inspection. A black woman in her late 30s walked slowly along the dock, her husband beside her. She wore simple khaki pants and a plain white cotton blouse, her natural hair pulled back in a low ponytail. Her husband dressed similarly casual in jeans and a polo shirt. They moved with quiet purpose, occasionally pausing to admire a particular yacht, pointing at details, speaking in low voices to each other. From the air-conditioned sales office 50 yards away, Marcus Ashford watched them through the floor-to-ceiling windows. He set down his espresso cup with a sharp click against the marble countertop. His eyes narrowed. "Are you seeing this?" He called over his shoulder to Jennifer, one of the junior brokers. The woman stopped in front of a 65-foot azimuth, shading her eyes as she looked up at the flybridge. Her husband pulled out his phone, seemingly taking photos. Marcus grabbed his sunglasses from his desk and headed for the door. His Italian loafers clicked against the polished wood of the dock as he approached the couple. He'd been the top broker at Prestige Maritime for 8 years. He knew his clients, he knew his prospects, and he definitely knew when someone didn't belong. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice carrying that particular tone of authority mixed with barely concealed irritation. "Can I help you with something?" The woman turned to face him, her expression open and friendly. "Yes, actually. We're interested in viewing some of your available yachts. We've been looking at the Azimuth collection." Marcus stopped a few feet away, looking them up and down with unconcealed assessment. No designer clothes, no Rolex watches, no signs of the wealth he dealt with daily. He'd seen this before. Curiosity seekers. People who wandered in off the street to gawk at boats they could never afford, wasting his valuable time when he could be closing actual deals. "I see," he said, crossing his arms. "And do you have an appointment scheduled?" "No," the woman replied calmly. "We were just in the area and thought we'd stop by. Is that a problem?" Marcus smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Well, our yachts start at $2.5 million. This isn't exactly a casual browsing situation. These are serious purchases for serious buyers." The woman's husband stepped slightly forward, his jaw tightening, but she placed a gentle hand on his arm. "We understand that," she said evenly. "That's why we're here. We're serious buyers." Something about her composure irritated Marcus even more. She should have been embarrassed by now, should have realized she was out of her depth. Instead, she stood there with that same calm expression, as if she actually belonged here among the mega yachts and multi-million-dollar sales. "Uh-huh," Marcus said, skepticism dripping from every syllable. "And you just happened to wander in, dressed like you're going to a barbecue, expecting to look at boats worth more than most people's houses?" By now, 2 other brokers had emerged from the office, drawn by the commotion. Jennifer and Brandon stood near the office entrance watching. A well-dressed couple who'd been touring a nearby yacht had stopped their viewing. Curiosity piqued. Another broker, Stephen, pulled out his phone, angling it toward the confrontation. But nobody knew who this woman really was. And that day, everything was about to change. If you believe that discrimination based on appearance is unacceptable, and that hidden power makes for the most satisfying justice, subscribe to Impact Scene Stories and hit the notification bell. Now let's dive into what really happened that afternoon in Newport Harbor. Her name was Diana Chambers, though Marcus Ashford didn't bother to ask. To him, she was just another time waster, another curious onlooker who'd wandered into a world far above her pay grade. Diana had arrived at Prestige Maritime just after 2 o'clock that afternoon. She'd driven herself in a modest Honda Accord, parking in the visitor section of the lot. No chauffeur, no entourage, just her and her husband Robert, taking a Saturday afternoon to look at boats. She'd dressed deliberately that morning, choosing her most unremarkable outfit. The khaki pants had a small stain near the hem from when she'd helped her daughter with a gardening project the week before. The white blouse was from Target, bought on clearance 3 years ago. She wore no jewelry except her simple gold wedding band. Her leather sandals were comfortable but worn, the kind you'd wear for a day of running errands. Everything about her appearance screamed ordinary, middle class, unremarkable. That was exactly the point. As she and Robert walked along the docks earlier, before Marcus had confronted them, she'd noticed the glances, A woman in designer resort wear had actually clutched her Birkin bag closer as they passed. A broker showing a yacht to an elderly couple had subtly repositioned himself between his clients and the approaching black couple, as if protecting them from potential threat. Diana had seen it all before. She'd grown up in South Central Los Angeles, daughter of a single mother who worked 2 jobs. She knew exactly what people saw when they looked at her without the trappings of wealth. She knew how quickly assumptions formed, how deeply prejudice ran. She also knew something else. She knew that assumptions could be weapons, turned back on those who wielded them. Robert had wanted her to call ahead, to make an appointment, to arrive in the Bentley with their attorney present. Why make this harder than it needs to be? He'd asked that morning over breakfast. But Diana had insisted. I want to see it, she'd said quietly. I want to see how they really operate when they think no one important is watching. Now, standing in front of Marcus Ashford, she could see exactly what she'd expected to find. His body language spoke volumes. The way he stood blocking her path to the yachts. The tone of his voice speaking to her as if she were a child who'd wandered away from her parents. The slight sneer on his face. The contempt barely disguised behind professional courtesy. Other people on the dock had started to notice the confrontation. A maintenance worker had stopped coiling rope, watching. 2 women in tennis whites paused their conversation, whispering behind their hands. Stephen wasn't even trying to hide the fact that he was filming now, his phone held at chest level, pointed directly at Diana and Marcus. Diana's voice remained calm, measured. We're interested in the Azimuth 72 and possibly the Sunseeker 85. We'd like to schedule viewings of both. Marcus actually laughed. It was a short, sharp sound that carried across the water. You want to look at a $4 million yacht? Just like that? Just like that, Diana confirmed. Do you have any idea what the insurance alone costs on boats like these? The docking fees? The maintenance? Marcus was warming to his theme now, enjoying himself. These aren't toys, these are investments. Serious financial commitments that require serious financial backing. I'm aware, Diana said. Are you? Marcus took a step closer. Because from where I'm standing, you look like someone who saw pretty boats from the highway and decided to come take some Instagram photos. This isn't Disneyland. We don't do tours for curious tourists. Jennifer, the junior broker, had moved closer, drawn by the confrontation. She was younger than Marcus, maybe late 20s, with the kind of blonde highlights that cost $500 to maintain. She looked Diana up and down, then smirked. Marcus is right, Jennifer chimed in, her voice carrying that Valley Girl lilt that made every statement sound like a question. Like we have to protect our clients' privacy. These boats belong to very important people. We can't just let anyone walk around taking pictures. We're not taking pictures for Instagram, Robert said, his voice tight with controlled anger. We're potential buyers. Brandon, another broker, had joined the growing group. He was in his early 40s, expensive suit, expensive watch, expensive everything. He looked at Robert with barely disguised amusement. Potential buyers, he repeated as if tasting the words. Right. And I'm potentially going to buy the Lakers. Light laughter rippled through the small crowd that had gathered. The well-dressed couple who'd been viewing the nearby yacht had abandoned their tour entirely, watching the confrontation with the fascinated horror of people witnessing a car crash. Diana felt Robert's hand tighten on her arm, felt the tension radiating from him. She knew that look. She'd seen it before, in other situations, other confrontations. The look of a proud man being publicly humiliated, fighting the urge to lash out, knowing that any anger would only confirm their prejudices. She squeezed his hand gently. Wait, the gesture said. Not yet. Marcus Ashford had been in yacht sales for 15 years. He'd started as a junior broker in Miami, worked his way up through sheer determination and an uncanny ability to read people. He could spot a serious buyer from 100 yards away. The way they walked, the way they dressed, the way they carried themselves. Money had a look, a smell, a presence. And these two, they had none of it. He'd grown up in Newport himself, son of a real estate developer who'd made millions in the 80s. He'd gone to USC, pledged the right fraternity, made the right connections. This Marina, this world of wealth and privilege, was his natural habitat. He knew who belonged here and who didn't. Let me save us all some time, Marcus said, his voice taking on a harder edge. You clearly wandered in here without understanding what kind of establishment this is. Prestige Maritime caters to a very specific clientele. We have standards, requirements. We don't waste our time with people who are just... He paused, looking Diana up and down again with obvious disdain. Window shopping. We're not window shopping, Diana repeated, her voice still maddeningly calm. Really? Marcus pulled his phone from his pocket. Then let's make this simple. Show me your pre-approval letter from a marine lender. Show me proof of funds. Show me that you have the financial capacity to even make a deposit on one of these boats. Diana didn't move. We don't need pre-approval, we'd be paying cash. The statement hung in the air for a moment. Then Marcus burst out laughing and several of the onlookers joined in. Even Jennifer couldn't suppress a giggle. Cash, Marcus repeated, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You're going to pay cash for a $4 million yacht. Sure. And while we're at it, why don't you buy the whole marina? More laughter. Stephen was definitely recording now, no longer even pretending to hide it. He'd moved closer, getting a better angle. This would make great content for their private broker group chat. Another delusional couple thinking they could play in the big leagues. Look, Marcus said, his patience clearly exhausted. I'm going to be very clear with you. This marina serves clients with a net worth of at least $50 million, minimum. Our cheapest slip costs more per month than most people's mortgages. The people who buy boats here are CEOs, tech founders, investment bankers, entertainment executives. They're not. He paused, his eyes scanning Diana's simple outfit again. Whatever it is you do. The casual cruelty of the statement landed exactly as Marcus intended. Diana saw Robert flinch beside her, saw the anger flash across his face, saw him start to speak. She spoke first, her voice still level. You're refusing to show us any yachts based on our appearance? I'm refusing to waste my time on people who clearly can't afford to be here, Marcus corrected. There's a public dock about 2 miles south, plenty of boats there in your price range. Maybe try there instead. Jennifer moved to stand beside Marcus, a united front. He's just being practical, she said, addressing the watching crowd more than Diana. Like, we have actual clients with appointments? People who are actually serious? We can't drop everything for every person who walks in off the street. Brandon pulled out his own phone now, joining Stephen in documenting the confrontation. This is actually against our policy, he added, his voice oozing false concern. Unscheduled visits from unverified parties. Security risk, really. Diana noticed more people gathering. A yacht club member in whites and a captain's hat. 2 marina staff members. A family that had been loading supplies onto their boat. All watching. All witnessing. All assuming they knew exactly what they were seeing. Marcus checked his Rolex, a gesture clearly meant to emphasize the difference between his world and theirs. I've given you enough of my time. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the property. This is private property and you're here without permission. We're potential customers, Robert said, his voice strained. No, Marcus said flatly. You're trespassers, and if you don't leave voluntarily, I'll call security to escort you out. The confrontation had attracted quite a crowd now. What had started as a simple interaction between a broker and potential clients had morphed into public spectacle. At least 15 people had gathered along the dock, phones out, some filming, some just watching with the morbid fascination of people witnessing someone else's humiliation. Jennifer had fully committed to Marcus's side, positioning herself slightly in front of Diana, creating a physical barrier between her and the yachts beyond. Like, this is actually getting really uncomfortable, she said, her voice pitched loud enough for the crowd to hear. You've been told multiple times that you need to leave, and you're still here? A woman in the crowd called out, Just call the police, Marcus. Why are you even arguing with them? Marcus held up a hand, playing to his audience now. I'm trying to handle this professionally. These folks just need to understand that they're in the wrong place. Stephen had moved around to get a different angle with his phone camera, circling like a shark. This is wild, he muttered to Brandon, not even bothering to lower his voice. Do they really think they're going to buy a yacht? Looking like that? Brandon snorted. Probably saw a TikTok about yacht life and thought they'd come check it out. Social media has everyone thinking they can live like millionaires. An older man in expensive casual wear, probably a boat owner, stepped forward. He had the weathered tan of someone who spent a lot of time on the water, and the confidence of someone used to being listened to. Son, he addressed Robert, ignoring Diana entirely. You need to take your wife and go. You're embarrassing yourselves. This isn't the place for you people. You people. The words hung in the air like a slap. Diana felt the atmosphere shift. What had been merely dismissive was now openly hostile. She saw it in their faces, heard it in their voices. This wasn't just about money anymore. It never had been just about money. "We have every right to be here," Diana said, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. "We came to look at yachts, that's all." "Rights?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "This is private property. I decide who has rights here. And I'm telling you that you don't have the right to waste my time, disrupt my business, or harass my clients." "We haven't harassed anyone," Robert protested. "You're harassing me right now by refusing to leave," Marcus shot back. He turned to the crowd, playing directly to them now. "Everyone here can witness that I've asked these people politely to leave multiple times, that I've explained that they don't have an appointment and that they're disrupting business. And they're refusing to comply." Heads nodded in the crowd. Murmurs of agreement. Someone said, "Just call the cops already." Jennifer pulled out her phone with a flourish. "Should I call security, Marcus, or straight to Newport PD?" "Not yet," Marcus said, savoring the moment. He was in control here, master of his domain, and he wanted Diana and Robert to fully understand that. Let's give them one more chance to do the right thing. He stepped closer to Diana, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive and cloying, close enough that it was an invasion of personal space, an intimidation tactic. His voice dropped lower, meant only for her and Robert, but in the silence of the watching crowd everyone heard, "You don't belong here. You know it. I know it. Everyone here knows it. Whatever game you're playing, whatever point you're trying to make, it's over. Take what's left of your dignity and leave before this gets even more embarrassing for you." A Marina security guard had arrived, summoned by someone in the crowd. He was young, probably mid-20s, and he looked uncertain as he approached. "Mr. Ashford, there's a problem?" Marcus didn't take his eyes off Diana. "These individuals are trespassing. I've asked them to leave multiple times. They're refusing." The guard looked from Marcus to Diana and Robert, clearly trying to assess the situation. "Folks, I'm going to have to ask you to come with me. We haven't done anything wrong," Robert said, his voice rising despite his efforts to stay calm. "Sir, please lower your voice," the guard said, his hand moving to his belt where his radio was clipped. "I don't want this to escalate." "It's already escalated," Jennifer chimed in, her phone camera pointed at Robert. "He's getting aggressive. Everyone's seeing this." "I'm not being aggressive." Robert's frustration was boiling over now, exactly what they wanted. "We just wanted to look at boats." "There he goes," Brandon said to the crowd, shaking his head. "Getting hostile. This is exactly why we have to be careful about who we let on the property." Diana saw the trap closing, saw how every word Robert spoke would be twisted, every gesture misinterpreted, saw how the narrative was being constructed in real time. Aggressive black couple harassing innocent broker, refusing to leave private property, causing a scene. She put her hand on Robert's arm again, firmer this time. What happened next would be captured on at least 5 different phones, from 5 different angles, though none of those videos would ever see the light of day once the truth came out. Marcus Ashford, emboldened by his audience and secure in his authority, decided to make his point absolutely clear. He reached out and grabbed the small leather bag Diana had been carrying, the one that held her phone, wallet, and keys. "Let's see some ID," he demanded, holding the bag out of her reach. "If you're really serious buyers, show me something, anything. Prove you didn't just wander in here from God knows where." "That's my property," Diana said, her voice still unnaturally calm. "Give it back." "Show me ID first," Marcus insisted. He opened the bag, started rifling through it. Credit cards, grocery store receipts, a pack of gum. He held up a Target Rewards card with mock reverence. "Oh look, a VIP card. Very impressive." Laughter from the crowd. Jennifer was filming this too now. Multiple cameras capturing Diana's humiliation from every angle. Robert moved toward Marcus. "That's theft. Give her the bag back right now." The security guard stepped between them. "Sir, I need you to step back. He has my wife's bag." "Sir, step back now or I will restrain you." Everything was happening very fast now, spiraling exactly where Marcus wanted it to go. He pulled out Diana's wallet, flipped it open. Driver's license, library card, a photo of 2 children. He studied the license with exaggerated scrutiny. "Diana Chambers," he read aloud. "Address in Long Beach." He looked up at the crowd. Long Beach, not even Newport. "You drove all the way from Long Beach to waste our time?" He tossed the wallet back into the bag with deliberate carelessness, some of the contents spilling onto the dock. Credit cards skittered across the wood. The photo of Diana's children fluttered toward the water. Diana knelt quickly to gather her belongings before they fell into the harbor. That's when Marcus made his biggest mistake. As Diana knelt there gathering her scattered belongings, Marcus stood over her. He had a plastic cup in his hand, iced coffee he'd been drinking before the confrontation started. He looked down at her, this woman on her knees picking up her scattered possessions, and something in him decided this moment needed punctuation. He tilted the cup. The remaining coffee, still cold, ice cubes and all, poured over Diana's shoulder, soaking into her white blouse, running down her back. Gasps from the crowd. Even some of Marcus's supporters seemed shocked by the escalation. Diana froze. For 3 full seconds, she didn't move. Ice cubes slid off her shoulder, landing on the dock with soft plops. Coffee dripped from her hair. The white blouse was now transparent in places, stained brown. Then slowly she stood up. Her movements were precise, controlled. She picked up the last of her credit cards, placed them carefully in her bag. She adjusted the strap on her shoulder, right where the coffee had been poured. Her face showed nothing. No anger, no tears, no embarrassment. Nothing at all. "Robert," she said quietly. "We're leaving." Marcus was already backtracking, seeing the shock on some faces in the crowd, realizing maybe he'd gone too far. It was an accident. The cup slipped. Diana didn't even look at him. She walked past him, past Jennifer, past the security guard, past the entire crowd of gawking onlookers. Her wet blouse clung to her back. Coffee still dripped from her hair, but she walked with her shoulders straight, her head high, moving with the kind of dignity that seemed to make the very air around her quiet. Robert followed, his face a mask of barely contained rage, but he said nothing, did nothing, just walked beside his wife toward the parking lot. The crowd parted for them without being asked. Behind them, someone called out, "Good riddance." Someone else laughed, nervous and uncertain. Jennifer kept filming until Diana and Robert disappeared around the corner of the main building. Stephen lowered his phone, looking at Marcus with something like concern. "Dude, you poured coffee on her." "It slipped," Marcus insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. Everyone saw. The cup slipped. But as the crowd began to disperse, as people returned to their boats and their business, something felt wrong. The air had changed. The easy laughter had died. Even Marcus felt it, though he couldn't name it. He'd won. He'd defended his territory, protected his Marina from time wasters, made his point. So why did he feel like he'd just made a terrible mistake? In the parking lot, Diana climbed into the Honda Accord, her coffee-stained blouse soaking into the seat. She sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. Robert got in beside her, his hands shaking with rage. "Diana, we have to—" "I know," she said softly. "I know exactly what we have to do." She pulled out her phone, scrolled to a contact, and made a call. It rang twice before a man's voice answered. "Mrs. Chambers, I wasn't expecting to hear from you today." "Change of plans, Richard," Diana said, her voice perfectly steady despite the coffee still dripping from her hair. "I need you to cancel the acquisition." A pause on the other end. "Cancel? But we're supposed to close on Monday. The wire transfers are ready. Everything's in place." "I know," Diana said. "Cancel it anyway, all of it. Prestige Maritime is off the table." "May I ask why?" Diana looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror, saw the coffee stains, saw the wet hair, saw the calm, controlled expression of a woman who had just been publicly humiliated and had chosen not to respond in kind. "Not yet." "Because," she said quietly, "I'm going to buy the whole Marina instead." And nobody knew what was coming. Nobody understood the significance of what they had just witnessed. The silence of that woman walking away wasn't weakness. It was the silence of someone who had all the power in the world and was simply deciding how to use it. Did you see the calm with which she walked away? Could you have maintained that dignity? Leave your answer in the comments. The rest of that Saturday afternoon passed normally at Prestige Maritime Marina. Boats were shown. Deals were discussed. The coffee incident became a story told over cocktails, a funny anecdote about delusional people who didn't know their place. But for Marcus Ashford, something felt off. He'd gone back to his office after Diana and Robert left, changed his shirt. He'd gotten some coffee splash on himself too, and tried to return to work. He had a showing scheduled for 4 o'clock, a tech executive looking at a 70-footer. Good commission, easy money, but he couldn't concentrate. He kept replaying the moment. The look on Diana's face when the coffee had poured over her shoulder. Not anger, not hurt, not embarrassment, Just nothing. A complete absence of reaction that somehow felt more powerful than if she'd screamed or cried. And the way she'd walked away. Like she was above it all. Like she knew something he didn't. "You okay?" Jennifer asked, poking her head into his office around 3:30. "You seem weird." "I'm fine," Marcus said automatically. Just thinking about the Peterson showing. But he wasn't thinking about the Peterson showing. He was thinking about that calm, measured voice. "We're interested in the Azimuth 72 and possibly the Sunseeker 85. Not like someone guessing at yacht names. Like someone who knew exactly what she wanted." He pulled up the Marina's visitor log on his computer, looking for the license plate of the Honda Accord. Found it. Ran it through the DMV database that brokers had access to for verification purposes. Registered to Diana M. Chambers. Long Beach address matched what he'd seen on her driver's license. No liens. No issues. Just a regular Honda Accord registered to a regular person. "See?" he told himself. "Just what I thought. Nobody." But the unease wouldn't leave. At 5 o'clock, as he was wrapping up his showing with the tech executive, his phone rang. Unknown number. He normally didn't answer unknown numbers, but something made him pick up. "Marcus Ashford," he said. "Mr. Ashford, this is Richard Chen from Morrison, Chen and Associates. I'm calling regarding an incident that occurred at your marina earlier today." Marcus's stomach dropped. A lawyer. Of course. She was going to sue for the coffee thing. He'd been expecting this. "If this is about the accidental spill this afternoon, I should direct you to our liability insurance." "This isn't about a lawsuit, Mr. Ashford," the lawyer interrupted. "This is a courtesy call to inform you that the planned acquisition of Prestige Maritime Marina has been canceled." Marcus blinked. "I'm sorry, what acquisition?" "The sale of the marina property to Chambers Investment Group. The deal was scheduled to close on Monday. However, due to the events of this afternoon, my client has decided to withdraw the offer." The words didn't make sense. Marcus tried to process them. "I don't understand. Who's trying to buy the marina?" "Was trying to buy the marina," Richard corrected. "The deal is now canceled. I'm calling you as a courtesy because my client wanted certain parties to understand why the acquisition fell through. She was quite clear that your behavior this afternoon made it impossible for her to move forward with the purchase." "Who is your client?" "Diana Chambers, CEO of Chambers Investment Group. The woman you poured coffee on." The phone nearly slipped from Marcus's hand. "That's not... She couldn't be... She was wearing Target clothes." "Yes, well..." Richard's voice was dry, professional. "Mrs. Chambers has interesting ideas about how to evaluate business opportunities. She prefers to see how companies operate when they think no one important is watching. In this case, she saw exactly what she needed to see." Wait. Marcus was standing now, pacing his office. "Are you saying she was really going to buy the marina? The whole marina?" "Was going to buy it, yes. The offer was $850 million. All cash. The current owners had accepted. We were supposed to close in 48 hours. $850 million. Marcus sat down heavily in his chair. "However," Richard continued, "Mrs. Chambers was concerned about the corporate culture at Prestige Maritime. She wanted to observe staff interactions before finalizing the deal. What she observed this afternoon confirmed her concerns. Therefore, the acquisition is canceled." No, Marcus was scrambling now. "It was a misunderstanding. She didn't have an appointment, she didn't identify herself. How was I supposed to know?" "You weren't supposed to know," Richard said simply. "That was rather the point. Mrs. Chambers believes that how people treat those they perceive as powerless reveals their true character. You revealed yours quite clearly, Mr. Ashford. I can apologize. I can explain to her. Mrs. Chambers is not interested in your apology or explanation. This call is merely to inform you of the consequences of your actions. She thought you should understand that your behavior cost your employers an $850 million deal. What they choose to do with that information is up to them." The lawyer hung up. Marcus sat in his office, phone still pressed to his ear, listening to dead air. No, this couldn't be real. It was some kind of scam, some elaborate revenge plot. Diana Chambers couldn't be a billionaire CEO, she just couldn't. He pulled up Google on his computer with shaking hands, typed, "Diana Chambers CEO." The first result was from Forbes. Diana Chambers, the quiet billionaire reshaping maritime investment. The photo showed a woman in an elegant navy suit, professional makeup, hair styled perfectly. But it was unmistakably her. Same face, same calm, measuring eyes. He clicked the article with numb fingers. Diana Chambers, 41, started Chambers Investment Group 15 years ago with money from a tech startup she'd founded in her 20s. Today, CIG manages a portfolio worth over $12 billion, with particular focus on maritime properties, luxury resorts, and commercial real estate. Chambers is known for her hands-off management style and her unusual due diligence methods, often visiting properties and businesses incognito to assess operations without the performance that typically accompanies official visits. Marcus kept reading, each sentence a hammer blow. Recent acquisitions include the Pacific Marina Group for $1.2 billion and the Seaside Resort Collection for $900 million, known for being intensely private, rarely giving interviews, worth an estimated $4.7 billion. He clicked on images. There she was in business attire at a ribbon cutting. There she was shaking hands with the governor. There she was on a yacht, not as a guest but as the owner, the caption identifying it as her personal 140-foot Benetti, the Honda Accord, the Target clothes, the simple leather bag, all deliberate, all a test he had failed spectacularly. His office door burst open. Tom Morrison, the general manager of Prestige Maritime, stood there with his phone in his hand, his face pale. "My office," he said tightly. Now, as Marcus stood on shaking legs, he heard voices in the hallway. Jennifer, Brandon, Stephen, all being summoned, all about to learn what their afternoon's entertainment had actually cost. In the hallway, Marcus passed the security guard who'd responded to the incident. The young man was also being called to Morrison's office, looking confused and worried. Marcus understood now why Diana had walked away so calmly. She hadn't needed to defend herself. She hadn't needed to argue. She hadn't needed to prove anything. She'd simply had to wait. The consequences were already in motion before she'd even left the parking lot. Tom Morrison's office was on the second floor of the Marina's main building, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. Normally, the view was calming. Today, it felt like standing in a fishbowl. Marcus was the first one there. Morrison gestured to a chair without speaking, then continued his phone call. From what Marcus could hear, it was with the Marina's owner, Richard Steinberg, who was currently on his yacht somewhere in the Mediterranean. "Yes, sir, I understand," Morrison was saying. "Yes, I've called everyone involved. They're all here now." "Yes, sir, I'll handle it." He hung up and turned to face Marcus. His expression was cold enough to freeze water. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Before Marcus could answer, Jennifer, Brandon, and Stephen were ushered in by Morrison's assistant. They looked confused, slightly annoyed at being pulled from their Saturday afternoon plans. "What's this about?" Brandon asked, dropping into a chair. Morrison didn't sit. He stood behind his desk like a judge at a sentencing. "At approximately 2:15 this afternoon, a woman named Diana Chambers visited our marina with her husband. She expressed interest in viewing several yachts. Marcus, you confronted her. What happened next?" Marcus's mouth was dry. She didn't have an appointment. She wasn't dressed appropriately. I asked her to leave." "You asked her to leave," Morrison repeated flatly. "Is that all?" Silence. Jennifer glanced at Marcus nervously. "I may have." Marcus swallowed hard. "Accidentally spilled coffee on her." "Accidentally," Morrison said. "Jennifer, you filmed the incident, correct?" Jennifer paled. It was on my phone, but send me the video right now." "Mr. Morrison, I don't think—" "Now, Jennifer." With shaking hands, Jennifer pulled out her phone and forwarded the video. Morrison's computer pinged. He opened it, turned the monitor so everyone could see, and hit play. They all watched in silence as Marcus confronted Diana, as he grabbed her bag, as he rifled through her belongings, as he stood over her while she knelt collecting her scattered cards, and then the coffee. On the video, it was clear. The cup tilted deliberately, the liquid pouring out, the ice cubes falling onto her shoulder and back. "That was an accident," Marcus whispered, but even he didn't believe it anymore. Morrison paused the video on Diana's face in the moment after the coffee hit her. That calm, empty expression. "Do any of you know who Diana Chambers is?" Head shakes all around. Morrison pulled up the Forbes article on his computer, the one Marcus had found minutes earlier. He let them read in silence. Brandon was the first to understand. "Oh my God." "Yes," Morrison said. "Oh my God" is an appropriate response. Diana Chambers is the CEO of Chambers Investment Group, which manages over $12 billion in assets. She was here this afternoon conducting due diligence on a planned acquisition of this marina. Was, Jennifer said weakly. Was, Morrison confirmed. The deal was $850 million, all cash, scheduled to close Monday morning. Mr. Steinberg had already accepted the offer. He was planning to retire. Every employee here would have been retained under the new ownership with current salaries guaranteed for 2 years. The implications sank in slowly. But because of what happened this afternoon, Morrison continued, Mrs. Chambers has withdrawn her offer. The deal is dead. Mr. Steinberg is understandably furious. He wants to know how his employees managed to cost him nearly $1 billion in a single afternoon. We didn't know, Marcus protested. How were we supposed to know? Morrison's eyes were ice. You weren't supposed to know. That was the point. She wanted to see how we treat people when we think they don't matter. And you showed her exactly that. He turned to the others. Jennifer, you participated in the harassment and filmed it. Brandon, you made mocking comments. Stephen, you also filmed and encouraged the confrontation. The security guard has already been dismissed. He's being escorted off the property as we speak. You can't fire us, Brandon said, but his voice lacked conviction. We have contracts. Your contracts have a clause about bringing disrepute to the marina. I'd say costing the business an $850 million deal qualifies. Morrison opened a folder on his desk. I have termination papers here for each of you. You're all dismissed, effective immediately. You'll receive 2 weeks severance, which is more than you deserve. Security will escort you to clean out your desks. This is insane, Jennifer protested. We were just doing our jobs, protecting the marina. You were discriminating against potential clients based on their appearance, Morrison corrected. There's a name for that. Several names, actually, none of them flattering. I want to talk to Mr. Steinberg, Marcus said desperately. I can explain. Mr. Steinberg doesn't want to hear from you, ever. In fact, he's made it clear that if any of you contact him, his lawyers will become involved. Morrison pressed a button on his desk phone. Security, please come to my office. 2 security guards entered. Not the young one from earlier. He was already gone. These were senior staff, faces impassive. Please escort these individuals to their offices to collect personal belongings, then off the property. They're no longer employed here. Wait. Marcus was standing now, panic rising. Please, I've been here 8 years. I'm the top broker. I have clients, relationships. Had clients, Morrison corrected. Had relationships. Those all belong to the marina, not to you. We'll be contacting your active clients to reassign them. If you attempt to contact any of them yourself, we will pursue legal action for breach of contract and theft of business. You can't do this, Marcus said, but he could hear the desperation in his own voice. I already have. You're trespassing now. Please leave quietly or you'll be removed. The walk from Morrison's office to his desk was the longest of Marcus's life. Other brokers watched through glass walls. Whispers followed him. The video had already circulated. Everyone knew. His personal items fit in a single cardboard box. Photos of him with celebrity clients. Awards for top salesman. His coffee mug from USC. 8 years of career reduced to a box of memories. Jennifer was crying as security escorted her out. Brandon looked shell-shocked. Stephen kept muttering, "This is insane. This is insane." At the parking lot, Marcus loaded his box into his BMW. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped it. His phone buzzed. A text from his girlfriend. "Did you really pour coffee on a billionaire? It's all over social media. Call me." He checked Twitter. The video was there, posted anonymously but spreading fast. 15,000 retweets in an hour. The caption, "Yacht broker harasses and assaults black woman at luxury marina. Turns out she was the CEO planning to buy the place. He just cost his company $850 million. The comments were brutal. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Imagine being so racist you cost your employer nearly $1 billion. That walk away at the end. She knew, she absolutely knew. Marcus sat in his car and watched his career implode in real time on social media. But this was just the beginning. The worst was yet to come. Sunday morning, Marcus woke to his phone ringing. Unknown number. Against his better judgment, he answered. "Mr. Ashford, this is Carol Chen from Channel 7 News. We're doing a story about the incident at Prestige Maritime yesterday. Would you like to comment?" "No comment," Marcus said and hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Different number, different reporter, same question. He turned off his phone. But the damage was already done. By Sunday afternoon, the story had been picked up by major news outlets. Billionaire CEO humiliated at luxury Marina, read the headline in the Los Angeles Times. The Washington Post went with, "When Prejudice Costs Nearly $1 billion." Every story included the video. Marcus watching himself dump coffee on Diana Chambers over and over again. The deliberate tilt of the cup. Her calm, dignified exit. And every story included background on Diana Chambers. Raised in South Central LA by a single mother. Full scholarship to MIT. Founded her first tech company at 23. Sold it for $200 million at 26. Started Chambers Investment Group at 27. Built it into a $12 billion empire by 41. Featured in Forbes, Fortune, Bloomberg. On the board of 3 major charities. Donated millions to education initiatives in underserved communities. And Marcus had dumped coffee on her because she was wearing khakis. His phone buzzed with a notification even though it was off. Someone had sent him an email to his personal account. He opened it with dread. It was from the California Association of Yacht Brokers. His membership had been suspended pending ethics review. The email was professional, courteous, and devastating. Without CAYB membership, he couldn't legally broker yacht sales in California. Another email. The luxury real estate company where he had his license was terminating their relationship. Your recent actions are incompatible with our brand values. Another. His country club membership was under review. Another. His girlfriend had sent him a text. I can't be associated with this. Please don't contact me. One by one, the pillars of his life were collapsing. Monday morning, Marcus made a decision. He would go to Diana Chambers' office and apologize in person. Explain that it was a misunderstanding. That he'd made a terrible mistake. That he was sorry. Chambers Investment Group was headquartered in a sleek glass tower in downtown Long Beach. Marcus drove there in his BMW, rehearsing his apology the whole way. The lobby was all marble and chrome, with the CIG logo, a simple, elegant wave design, etched into the wall behind the reception desk. I'm here to see Diana Chambers, Marcus told the receptionist. The woman looked at him with recognition and something like pity. Do you have an appointment? No, but if you could just tell her Marcus Ashford is here. Mrs. Chambers doesn't take unscheduled meetings. If you'd like to request an appointment, you can submit a request through our website. Please, Marcus said, hating how desperate he sounded. 5 minutes, that's all I need. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Just tell her I'm here. Tell her I want to apologize. Security was already moving toward him. 2 large men in suits. Sir, this is private property. You need to leave now. Marcus left. He sat in his car in the parking garage and tried to call Richard Chen, the lawyer. The call went straight to voicemail. He left a message, knowing it would never be returned. He drove home in a daze. His phone had been buzzing constantly with notifications. He finally looked. His Twitter mentions were in the thousands. Most of them hate. Some media requests. A few job offers from conservative outlets wanting him to play the victim. To claim cancel culture. To say he was the real victim of reverse racism. He deleted Twitter from his phone. Tuesday, the letter arrived. Certified mail from Morrison, Chen and Associates. It was a cease and desist. He was forbidden from contacting Diana Chambers, anyone at Chambers Investment Group, or anyone at Prestige Maritime. Any violation would result in legal action for harassment and stalking. Wednesday, the professional consequences continued. Another email. The National Marine Brokers Association had revoked his certification. Without it, he couldn't broker yacht sales anywhere in the United States. His career was over. Not suspended. Not under review. Over. 15 years of work. Gone in 5 days. Thursday afternoon, 1 week after the incident, Marcus received a call from an unknown number. Normally he wouldn't answer, but something made him pick up. Mr. Ashford, this is Detective Sarah Williams from the Newport Beach Police Department. I need to ask you some questions about an incident at Prestige Maritime Marina last Saturday. Marcus's blood ran cold. Am I being charged with something? Mrs. Chambers has filed a formal complaint alleging assault and battery. The coffee you poured on her constitutes unwanted physical contact, and there's clear video evidence. I need you to come to the station to give a statement. It was an accident. The video shows otherwise, Mr. Ashford. When can you come in? Marcus hired a lawyer. It cost $5,000 just for the initial consultation. The lawyer watched the video and shook his head. You're clearly tilting the cup deliberately. This isn't going to be easy to defend. I didn't think she mattered, Marcus said, then realized how that sounded. I mean, I didn't think she was anyone important. That makes it worse, not better, his lawyer said. You're admitting you assault people you don't think matter? The investigation proceeded. Witnesses were interviewed. The other videos surfaced. Brandon's, Stephen's, 2 from customers who'd been watching. All showed the same thing from different angles. Marcus pouring coffee on a woman kneeling to pick up her scattered belongings. The district attorney's office announced they were pursuing charges. Misdemeanor assault and battery. If convicted, Marcus could face up to 6 months in jail and a $2,000 fine. But the legal consequences were somehow less devastating than the social ones. His photo was everywhere. Coffee assault broker became a meme. Late-night comedians made jokes. How to cost your company $850 million in one easy step. His parents called. His mother was crying. How could you do this, Marcus? How could you treat another human being this way? His father was cold. You've embarrassed the family. You've destroyed everything you worked for. I don't even know what to say to you. Friends stopped returning calls. Former colleagues crossed the street to avoid him. His landlord informed him the building's other residents had complained about his presence. Friday morning, Marcus woke to find his car had been vandalized. Someone had spray-painted "racist" across the hood. Saturday, exactly 1 week after the incident, he received an email from Prestige Maritime's lawyers. Diana Chambers had decided not to pursue the assault charges on one condition. Marcus had to participate in a formal mediation and publicly acknowledge his wrongdoing. He had no choice but to agree. The mediation was held at a law office in downtown Newport. Marcus arrived with his lawyer. Diana Chambers was already there with Richard Chen and 2 other attorneys. This was the first time Marcus had seen her since that Saturday afternoon. She wore a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than his car payment. Her hair was styled perfectly. She looked every inch the billionaire CEO she was. She looked at him without emotion. No anger. No satisfaction. Just assessment. "Mr. Ashford," she said. Her voice was the same calm, measured tone from that day on the dock. "Do you understand why we're here?" Marcus swallowed hard. "To apologize. I'm sorry for what I did. It was wrong." What exactly was wrong about it? The question hung in the air. I shouldn't have poured coffee on you. I shouldn't have gone through your bag. I shouldn't have treated you that way." "Why did you treat me that way?" Diana asked. Marcus looked at his lawyer, who nodded slightly. "Tell the truth." "Because I thought you were nobody," Marcus admitted. "Because you weren't dressed right. Because you didn't look like the kind of person who could afford our yachts. Because—" he faltered. "Because I'm black." Diana finished for him. "I'm not racist," Marcus protested automatically. "You judged me entirely on my appearance. You assumed I was poor, uneducated, and unworthy of basic respect because of how I looked. What do you call that?" Marcus had no answer. Diana leaned forward slightly. "I'm going to tell you something, Mr. Ashford. That day at the Marina wasn't the first time I've been treated that way. It wasn't even the worst. I've been followed in stores, questioned in first-class lounges, assumed to be the help at events where I was the guest of honor. I've dealt with people like you my entire life. Then why—" Marcus stopped himself. "Why did I dress that way? Why did I set you up?" Diana's expression didn't change. "Because I needed to know. I was about to invest $850 million in that marina. I needed to understand the culture there. I needed to see how employees treated people they thought were powerless, and you showed me exactly what I needed to see. I cost you the deal too," Marcus pointed out. "You walked away from $850 million because of me." "No," Diana corrected. "I walked away from a toxic business culture that would have been a liability to my company. You didn't cost me anything, Mr. Ashford. You saved me from a bad investment. I should probably thank you." The words stung worse than any insult. "However," Diana continued, "you did cost your employers that deal. You cost your colleagues their jobs. You cost yourself your career. Those consequences are entirely your fault." Richard Chen slid a document across the table. "This is a statement acknowledging your actions and accepting responsibility. You'll read it on camera for the record. In exchange, Mrs. Chambers will not pursue criminal charges." Marcus read it with numb fingers. It laid out everything. His assumptions, his prejudice, his assault, his complete and total culpability. "If I sign this, what happens to me?" "You'll never work in yacht sales again," Richard said bluntly. Your reputation is destroyed, but you'll avoid jail time and a criminal record. It's more than you deserve. Marcus looked at Diana. Do you forgive me? No, she said simply. Forgiveness would imply that what you did was forgivable. It wasn't. You humiliated me because you thought you could, because you thought I was powerless. You were wrong about that, but the intention was still there. I don't forgive that. Then why let me avoid charges? Because the justice system is imperfect, and because you're already facing the consequences of your actions every day. Because your career is over, your reputation is destroyed, and you'll spend the rest of your life being that guy who poured coffee on the billionaire. That seems like sufficient punishment. She stood up. The meeting was over. Marcus signed the statement. He read it on camera, his voice shaking. He acknowledged his prejudice, his assault, his complete failure as a human being. When it was done, Diana Chambers walked out without another word. Marcus never saw her again. 6 months later, Marcus Ashford was working as a car salesman at a Honda dealership in Riverside. The pay was 60% less than what he'd made as a yacht broker. His colleagues knew who he was. Everyone knew who he was. But they were professional enough not to mention it to his face. He'd moved to a smaller apartment, sold the BMW, deleted all social media. He existed now in a kind of limbo, recognized everywhere he went, forever defined by the worst moment of his life. The video still circulated. Every few weeks it would go viral again, shared by new audiences discovering it for the first time. Remember the yacht broker who poured coffee on a billionaire? The comments never changed. The judgment never softened. Jennifer had moved back to Ohio, working at her father's insurance agency. Brandon had found work at a car dealership in Arizona. Stephen had left the industry entirely, last heard working in tech support. The security guard who'd been fired had actually landed on his feet. Diana Chambers had heard about his termination and, learning he'd just been following orders, had helped him find a better position at one of her other properties. He was now head of security at a CIG resort in San Diego, making twice what he'd made at the Marina. Prestige Maritime had been sold eventually, though for considerably less than Diana's offer. The new owners cleaned house, replacing most of the senior staff. Tom Morrison had retired early. Richard Steinberg lost millions on the reduced sale price. And Diana Chambers? She continued building her empire. CIG acquired 3 more marinas in the following year, none of them Prestige Maritime. She gave one interview about the incident to Forbes. People often ask if I regret how I approached that situation, she told the interviewer. They ask if I should have identified myself if I set those people up, but I don't see it that way. I didn't make Marcus Ashford pour coffee on me. I didn't make him rifle through my belongings or speak to me with contempt. Those were his choices, based on his assumptions about who I was and what I was worth. Do you think he learned from it? The interviewer asked. Diana considered this. I think he learned that actions have consequences. Whether he learned the deeper lesson, that every person deserves basic dignity regardless of their appearance or perceived status, I honestly don't know. I hope so. But that's not my responsibility. My responsibility was to protect my business and my values. I did that. The Forbes article included a photo of Diana on the deck of her personal yacht, the 140-foot Benetti. She was dressed casually in khakis and a white blouse, almost identical to what she'd worn that day at the Marina. The caption read, Chambers says she still frequently visits her properties incognito. You learn more about a business in 5 minutes of being ignored than in 5 hours of being catered to, she explains. In Riverside, Marcus saw that Forbes article when a colleague pulled it up at work. He looked at the photo of Diana on her yacht, remembered the day he'd mocked her for wanting to look at boats she couldn't afford. He closed the browser and went back to trying to sell Accords. Some lessons cost more than others. Some mistakes you never recover from. And some people have all the power in the world hidden behind a simple pair of khakis and a white blouse from Target, just waiting to see who you really are when you think no one important is watching. That's who Marcus Ashford had been that day. And now the whole world knew it. This case reminds us that no one should be judged by their appearance. Justice, when it comes, is complete and irreversible. Did you catch the signs throughout the story that something was wrong? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story of poetic justice, don't forget to subscribe to Impact Scene Stories and hit the notification bell. Leave a like if this story resonated with you. and share it with someone who believes that hidden power makes for the most satisfying plot twist. Remember, when you humiliate someone without knowing who they really are, you might be making a mistake you'll never recover from.